The law of attraction is not punishing you and not trying to teach you any lessons. It's like the law of gravity. When you were first introduced into this physical world, your instructors, your parents, and your teachers did not say, the law of gravity hates you. And when you jump off of tall things, it's going to really hurt you. You just came to understand. You learned to work within it. You learned through experience that when you throw something up, it's going to come down. And when you step off of something without wings, and you don't have wings, that you're going to plummet to the earth. So we want you to become familiar with this law of attraction in the same way that you've come to accept the law of gravity. It's a consistent law. It's consistent. It's always fair. Whatever you are offering a thought about, you have an active vibration about. And the more often you think about it, the more active the vibration. And the more active the vibration, the more momentum. So we cannot talk about law of attraction without talking about momentum. A thought that you think is rather uneventful at first, but the more you think it, the more attraction power it has, until eventually it manifests in your experience. Esther will never forget being in San Francisco that first time and seeing the hills that those crazy people were driving up and down. She could not believe it. Have you seen them? Can you imagine being at the top of one of those hills, taking your parking brake off and taking your car out of gear, and just for fun or just for a learning experience, you decide you will discover what momentum really is. So you just nudge your car that is not engaged with brakes or gears. You just nudge it a little from behind just to see what will happen next. And of course, what will happen next begins to happen. And then you realize you don't have to test this. You know what's going to happen. So you just step out in front of your car and you let it bump up against you in the very early stages of the very slight momentum. And no problem at all. You stop the momentum early on. But you would not want to be at the bottom of the hill stopping that momentum. And that's the way we want you to think about the thoughts that you think that are not serving you. You want to stop the momentum of them in the earlier stages. And sometimes our physical friends say, but I have a strong belief because so much has manifested that has proven this to me. And we want to remind you, and we will continue to remind you, that the reason that things continue to manifest is because you have an active vibration about them. And the reason that things continue to prove themselves as they do is because you have an active vibration. In other words, you are making them true. You create your own reality through the thoughts that you think. And we know it's not easy at first to sort that out because there are thoughts that you've been thinking that have been passed on from generation to generation. Those around you are thinking those thoughts. And many of the thoughts that you think, and therefore many of the beliefs that you hold, because a belief is just a thought that you've practiced well, that has a lot of momentum. Many of the beliefs that you hold are serving you enormously well, and some of them are not. So how do you sort out the difference? How do you know? How do you know what's serving you and what doesn't? Well, we want to say to you that what doesn't serve you are contradictory thoughts to your own desire. You are so much more than these physical bodies. Do you know that? You were non-physically focused before you came here, and the larger part of you is still non-physically focused even though you are here. You are source, soul, consciousness at the same time that you are this magnificent human perspective. So you've got this perspective, this God view, this non-physical, this inner being view that is the eternal part of you. That's the part of you who loves no matter what. One day Esther was observing something really unwanted. Another person, a really rascally person. And she felt strong negative emotion in her discontent with this person. And later on she was talking to us. Why do I feel this way when I think about that person? And we said, because you are not looking at that person the way the source within you looks at that person. What do you mean? Well, we always love that person. And when you find reason not to, you've got discord going on within you. Well, Esther, especially in those early days, thought that the remedy was to make us understand what was wrong with that person. Clearly, Abraham, you need more information. Because I'm sure if you knew what I know, you would feel like I feel. So you should agree with me. Because she came to understand early on that if she is in agreement with us, she feels clear, she feels joy, she feels love, she feels appreciation. That clarity is such a wonderful thing, seen through the eyes of Source, an unconditional love that we'll talk more about here. And so it took a while for us to help her to understand that there are different ways of looking at things, but anything that you're looking at that causes you to feel negative emotion means one thing and one thing only, always, every time, no exception. You've got contradictory energy going on within you because the larger part of you sees it differently. Like, if you don't like yourself, you feel awful because Source loves you. If you don't like that person, you don't feel good because Source does love that person. If you feel inadequate, you feel terrible because Source knows that you are adequate. Source knows your power. Source knows your value. Source knows your worthiness. And when you get crossways of that, you don't feel so good. So you were Source energy before you came into this physical body, and a part of you is focused here, an important part, a leading edge part. And as you're focused here, you're exploring the variety, and you know what you don't want, you know what you do want, and every time you come to that conclusion of what you would prefer, whether it's consciously or unconsciously. In other words, even at a cellular level, you are discerning and deciding. All based upon what's best for you. You could not be more selfishly oriented because you are the attractor, you are the creator of self. But you are not alone in that selfness because Source is self with you. You sort of kind of get that? So as you're exploring here and knowing what you don't want and therefore knowing what you do want, you emanate a rocket of preference, a rocket of desire. We call it a rocket because it shoots out of you. It's a vibrational current. It's a vibrational request. And in the moment, that's step one of the creative process. You emanate that, and you do it whether you know that you're doing it or not. You do it because life just causes you to make those decisions all day, every day, at all levels of your being. So you're launching these rockets of desire, these preferences that you may or may not, usually not in the beginning, be a vibrational match to. Because knowing what you don't want has just now helped you clarify how it would be better if it were different. So you launch this rocket that you're not up to speed with, but Source, the Source within you, the part of you who is non-physically focused, is up to speed with it immediately. We're moving over here into what we are calling your vortex. You're so kind to follow us in all of this madness. So this vibrational rocket emanates from you, and the Source within you becomes a vibrational match to it, integrates it into the allness that is you. It's another preference that you are adding into the fullness that is you. And Source is immediately, instantaneously up to speed with your new request, which is the reason that you could potentially feel negative emotion. Because if you are not instantly, and you usually aren't, up to speed with the new request, in other words, you don't believe it in most cases because most of you need to see it before you believe it, which is so backwards. You got to believe it before you're going to see it. Source knows it. And when you stop beating the drum of the reasons that it won't work, or stop beating the drum of why you don't believe that it will now because it hasn't before, and you just allow yourself to be in this expectant place, then you are a vibrational match to what you want. So the 3 steps of the creative process are: step 1, ask. And contrast causes you to ask all day, every day. You cannot turn your asking off. Stop trying. So you launch these rockets, and Source accomplishes step 2. Source becomes an instant vibrational match to what you've asked for. And so vibrationally speaking, and we know you don't like that as human manifesting beings, but vibrationally speaking, what you've asked for is accomplished in the moment that you ask for it. We wrote a whole book. We called it Ask and It Is Given. That's what it is about. When you ask, it is given immediately. But then step 3 is you've got to find some way to be up to speed with what you're asking for. You can't doubt it and want it and get it. You've got to want it and believe it in order to get it. And we're not going to ask you to suddenly, all of a sudden, to change your beliefs because you can't. Law of attraction will not accommodate that. You can't have believed something for a long time and have it manifested around you, and the people around you talking about it, and all of a sudden say, okay, that doesn't serve me, I'm going to believe this instead, because there is a momentum to the beliefs that you already hold. And law of attraction is dishing up to you evidence of the beliefs that you hold. That's why you keep believing them. We just want you to understand that if you would gently try to believe slightly differently than you do about things that you want, the universe will support the change in your beliefs, you see. So that's all about the momentum thing, isn't it? If you talk about it and think about it, it's going to manifest, and the momentum is going to get stronger and stronger. The more attention to a subject, the more momentum happens. And so what genius is on any subject is just attention to it. Because law of attraction says that which is likened to itself is drawn. You are such magnificent beings. And we want you to know something about you that we know. And that is, you can be or do or have anything that you choose. And that source energy, the energy that creates worlds, is backing you up in all of that all day, every day. But you've got to find some way of directing your thoughts in the direction of what you desire. So that's what we talk about here. We've been calling this gathering for a while the art of allowing, because it really is you discovering the art, and it is an art. You've got to practice yourself into it. The art of allowing yourself to be up to speed with who you really are and what you really want. The best analogy that we have that really puts this into the perspective that we want you to hold is, imagine a cork bobbing on the surface of the water. And for the sake of this analogy, let's call that alignment. Let's call that being up to speed with your source. Let's call that pure positive energy. Let's call that your natural state of being. Let's call that who you were when you were born. Let's call that who you are when you're asleep. Let's call that who you will be when you return to the non-physical and what you call the death experience. Death doesn't exist, but you know what we mean. So pure positive energy, that's naturally who you are. Now you can take hold of that cork and hold it under the water. That's what negative emotion is. But when you let go of it, it's going to bob right back to the surface. So what we're saying to you is, it's the thoughts that you've been practicing that are holding you apart from who you really are. And in the absence of those thoughts, those contradictory thoughts that you've been practicing, that hold you apart from your clarity and apart from your power and apart from your love and apart from your joy, if you'd stop doing that thing that holds you apart, you'd move right back into alignment with that, you see. So what's required is an understanding, and we think you just got it, that negative emotion always means the same thing. You are right now in the middle of the negative emotion introducing contradictory thought. Contradictory to what? Contradictory to who you really are, to all that you've become. You see, every time you launch one of those rockets, the larger part of you becomes more. That's why you're here. You are the leading edge of thought. Oh, we're here to support you in every new thought you discover. And we are here to assist you in the clarity of what you have discovered. In other words, we're right here with you. But we are not thinking for you. We are not creating your reality. You are creating your own reality. So you want to care about law of attraction because it doesn't turn off. And you want to care about the way you feel because that's your indication of how you're doing within the law of attraction. And it's your indication of how in alignment with who you really are, you are right here and now. So that's the basis of everything that matters. We're eager to talk with you about anything you want to talk about. There's nothing off limits. We want to show you how to be in alignment with who you really are. We want to show you how to release resistance. We want to help you to bob back to the surface of who you really are. We'd like you to push the reset button while you're here today, restoring yourself to the natural clarity and self-awareness that is really who you are. Life is so good when you are deliberate about it. And it's not so much fun when you're just sort of sloppily, indeliberately creating by default. Most of those around you are doing that. They are offering most of their vibration in response to what they are observing. So when they see something wanted, they offer a vibration about that. And when they see something not wanted, they offer a vibration about that. So they got this cross current going on all the time, which is what makes